Yo, 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 it's the Jolly and Slim Show. Here, let's go. Time to lock in, turn the volume up. We bring that heat, yeah, we keep it tough. Mindset, hustle, life on the go. You already know it's the Jolly and Slim Show.
It's funny hearing your story because it's kind of like there's a lot that is similar
Yeah,
here in a second when
that's
I
funny.
start talking. So I'm Jolly, that most of you know, but my real name, my government name
The
is
government.
William or Will. But a lot of people call me William growing up, and then as I got older, it turned into Will, and then now in the V Friends world, it's Jolly, which
Yeah.
is I'm okay with that. But so I grew up in a small, I guess you can say, town in South Carolina called Rock Hill. Um, yeah, my family was kind of a working class family. We wasn't rich by any means,
Right.
but we wasn't poor. We didn't really. I didn't. I didn't need for anything. I guess you can say I had all the needs. Man, I wanted a lot, but I didn't need for anything.
Sure.
I guess you can say my dad was a functioning alcoholic, but he was never. I would say he was never bad per se. Apparently, from what I was told, a lot of his bad stuff that was going on was before I was born,
Mm.
and I'm the oldest of me and my brother. But I mean, he was kind of a hard dad in a way, but never. I mean, I got spankings, but I mean, I got spankings like most kids back in the '80s did,
Yeah.
'80s and
That was just
'90s.
part of life.
Uh, I mean, I guess in today's world, you'd probably say that was abusive. Most people would say, "Oh, that," but it wasn't. I would never say that.
It wasn't.
Um,
It still
if
isn't.
anything, if I would say anything, it was more verbally
Mm.
than anything. He would just say a lot of kind of off the wall stuff. But he was like motivating, and he cared for us. I mean, I know that he loved me because he definitely told me that a lot. It's just sometimes he would just. I think it was probably because of him drinking. Now that I got older, like him just kind of
Sure.
saying something that he didn't really mean at the time, or maybe whatever. But so growing up, but my grandfather was like my idol. That was my mom's, and it's crazy because it's not my mom's real dad; it's her stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
But I always called him my pawpaw. Like that's my pawpaw. And my mom's real dad, I would always call him pawpaw policeman because he was a lieutenant of the SWAT team in Charlotte.
Okay.
But I would never really call him. I would always, if I never really told people pawpaw policeman because they didn't know who I was talking about. I would say that's my mom's real dad, but that's my
Mm.
grandfather. So my grandfather was like my idol, the person that I looked up to, the one that pretty much, besides my mom and stuff, that motivated me a lot to do better in life and have a better understanding and do things. I played sports growing up. Baseball was my worst sport. I didn't start playing baseball until like the last year you can play before like you start having to play middle school.
Mm.
So I didn't know any of the techniques. I was the guy that got to hit one time and played the field, and I think I played like what right field.
Right
They threw
field,
you
'cause
out
nobody ever get to you.
just because they had to as a rule. So
Yep.
I knew that right then I wasn't a baseball player, but basketball and football was my sports. I would say when I was younger, I was more of a football dude, but I was also smaller.
Mm.
Um, but then as I got a little older, basketball turned into being my sport. I still love. It's kind of weird because I say I love basketball better, but then when football's around, like I'm a big pro football person
Yeah.
rather than college.
Me too.
Um, I would say like, oh, I pay more attention to pro, but I think it's just more seasonal. But like, if you really break it down, I'm a basketball person. I know more about basketball. So as I grew up, I just was a normal kid going to school that didn't like school, uh, didn't really try in school because I just didn't like being there and doing the stuff. And I passed all my grades, went to middle school. High school, I struggled because I didn't really care or try.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I started skateboarding and I started kind of chasing girls around and getting all that nonsense. And I stopped trying out for sports because of my grades. Because every year I would try out, I would make the teams.
But then you get kicked off.
I stopped playing football because I started realizing these boys are way bigger than me.
Mm.
When I was doing conditioning in ninth grade, and these guys were pushing up 400 pounds on the bench press, and I'm over there, like, I don't even know if I was 100 pounds yet, and I couldn't even bench the bar.
Right.
I still can't bench press. Like,
I can't
I
either.
cannot bench. I don't know what it is. I can't go from here to here. I feel like I'm a strong kind of dude, but like that just never
It's
could
not a
never
very
do it.
natural movement, to be honest. It's
So
not.
like
It's not really relevant for anything.
me and a friend, we were lifting weights for conditioning and stuff one summer, and he was a great basketball player, and we finally were like, this ain't for us. So I kind of like went basketball at that point, but I still was on the smaller side. I'm 6'1" now, but I didn't hit a growth spurt until like 10th grade.
Right.
So like I was always like small, like my son is. But so I went through high school, and honestly, I wasn't looking for like, oh, college is coming up. I really just kind of was like, I'm gonna graduate, get a job. I mean, maybe thought about maybe joining the army just because I knew I had to do something, but I definitely didn't put a lot of thought in that whatsoever. And then I started dating this chick in high school, and then she started talking. And I think it was my right before senior year, so she started like going to colleges and applying, and I was like, well, hold up, I can't let my girlfriend go to college
Mm.
because all these dudes are going to be hitting on her. Like, so like I started buckling down my senior year because they did tell me if you don't pass everything, you're not walking this year.
Mm.
So I had to like buckle down, and like my road to college was a hard road to college because like of that reason. So I was like, I hurt myself by not doing a lot of stuff leading up to it. I never taught myself how to really study. I never really all the things you should have been learning, I didn't. So like I had to like learn them all real quick, and my back was against the wall. But I luckily, I graduated, and before I graduated, I started applying for colleges. And there's this small school in South Carolina called Lander University. I got accepted to, but I didn't get accepted like straight route. I had to come to a summer program. Like I graduated in like May something, and like 2 weeks later, I'm in college. And
Right.
you had to get this, it was called the Summer Smarts program. You had to go to this summer school, take 2 classes in real college classes, and make C's or higher. And that's what you would start your freshman year as your GPA too. And I was like, okay, so, and if you didn't get C's or higher, you didn't get in.
Mm.
So you had to like prove yourself a little bit. So I went there, and I mean, it was not hard classes. Like it was like psychology was one class, music was one. I forgot. I had speech. I think I took speech and maybe art history or something like that. Which I don't know if you know, or music history or something. Yeah, I think it was music history or I can't remember, but I knew it was speech too. So I got to take that early on. But so I went in there. I made two B's. So I started my freshman year with 3.0, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the big man on campus because I've never had a 3.0.
Right.
I
Right.
barely, I graduated high school like 2.0.
Me
And
too.
then so I got in, and me and that girl ended up breaking up very early in our freshman year, like normal. That's what usually happens. And I kind of just did the college thing, um, joined the fraternity, and then started partying. And my grades started just went from that 3.0 to I made a 0. I made a 0.0 one semester.
Ooh.
Uh,
You just didn't go to
because
class at all.
no, well, actually, see, this is my problem. I went to class and still made 0.0 just because I didn't do the work.
Didn't do anything.
So, like, I was going to classes, and I really didn't think about joining fraternity for a while, like at all. And then, like, as I met people, because actually, my plan was because I was actually going to go my first year and transfer to the Citadel. Because then from Rock Hill, in my little town, a lot of people went to the Citadel, and a lot of
Yeah.
my friends went there. So I was like, I'm just going to go there and be around people. But then I met some friends and like started trying to figure out how to get in this fraternity. And I had to like pull my grades up to get in because you had to have a 2.0 to get in. So I pulled my grades up, got into the fraternity. Then the semester after I actually got initiated, and I just started partying and doing the bad things, and those are all different conversations for later
Sure.
on
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But I started doing all that stuff, and like I put myself in holes my whole time, and
Mm.
like I could have quit. I actually got kicked out of college twice because of my grades, and I got suspended the first time. Well, I was only supposed to be suspended for one semester, but I played around and I ended up sitting out a whole year. when I wasn't supposed to.
Right.
And then the second time I came back, I was supposed to be suspended for a year. So I ended up staying a whole year, almost 2 years out of school. And the only reason why I kept going was because of my grandfather, because he wanted me to have a college education, and I didn't want to let him down, and I kept pushing, and then I had to pull a lot of schemes because it ended up being I ended up turning into Van Wilder, where I was the oldest dude there. I remember looking around one day and be like, okay, everybody in my fraternity, my friends are gone.
Right.
So
right.
like, it's time for me to graduate. And I didn't really have a major yet either. I didn't declare a major because I would like do something 1 minute and see what I liked, and if I didn't like it, I'd go somewhere else. So then I got my manual. I was like, all right, what do I need to do to get out of here the quickest? and I had so many classes because I was taking so many things that the history major was my quickest route out. From that point, I had a year and a half and I could get out. I was in school almost like 6.5, 7 years. But now, because of I was in that town for like almost 8.
Right.
So like, it was a battle, and then finally I graduated. And right before I graduated is when my brother passed away tragically, and that's a whole nother thing to get into. But so my brother passed away in 2006, and I graduated in 2006. So like, I graduated December of 2006. Is that right? Yeah. And and then I went into working in a wide format graphics company where we made signs, and I did all the laminating on stickers, and I mounted all the stuff to different type of materials for big signs and stuff. And I got into that. I was into that, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I worked at that company for a couple of years and got laid off. I ended up getting married. That didn't last long at all because I got married to the girl that I was with for most of my college career. We were together for 6 years. We had a year-long engagement, got married, and we wasn't together, but not on paper it was a year. But really, we got married in May. By August, I was moved out. So, and it was, but it was one of those relationships where it was like that's what you did. Like, and we both were young. I mean, I was 26 at the time. She was 23. I don't even really consider that being married because, I mean, I guess it is, but we just both were young, and it was just like, whatever. We divorced, and we both didn't have anything. So like the divorce was not anything crazy. Like it was like, give me my money. It was like, give me my money back from like the wedding. Give me this. And she had a condo. I wasn't going to go after any of that because it wasn't like that. We just grew apart.
Yeah.
And so, and then that was in 2009, and then I moved back to my hometown, which I said I never would come back to because I wanted to get away from there because it was just it was a hole. And so I moved back and then got a job at the same printing company that laid me off, just in the Charlotte office because they just opened that. So I worked there for like a year or two, got laid off from there, and then started looking for a job. And then I bounced around a couple of jobs. Now I got into this one place printing t-shirts, but it wasn't really a printing t-shirt place. They were actually printed on weights, like competition weights.
Oh, okay.
The name of that, like Rogue was one of the companies that we printed that, like Rogue that was on there. We printed that.
That's pretty cool.
They did print shirts, but like they had one like 12 head press automatic, but no one knew how to run it. And I went and played around with it and figured it out, but I still was like messing stuff up regularly. Like I would out of 50 shirts, I'd mess up 20 of them.
Right. Yeah.
You ain't making money doing that.
No.
So then I bounced around a little bit, and that job just was a dead end job. And then I got myself into a screen printing shop, and I worked there for about 4.5 years. And I actually love screen printing. It's fun because you're creating something. And that goes back, I know I skipped a lot, but I drew a lot when I was little, creating things like that. So like that art aspect and creating was cool. It's just, as a screen printer, that you don't have any say in that company, you ain't making much money unless you own that company.
Yeah.
You're not working your way up,
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There's no ladder to climb in a screen printing shop. Yeah, unless it's a giant shop.
Yeah, and this was not. Now, it had been around. She had been around for a while, but you could also see the decline in that shop too as it went. And then I kind of was like, man, this is not going anywhere. And I've always wanted to coach basketball, and I always wanted to kind of be a teacher and coach, but I didn't have the teaching part of my history degree because I didn't, because there you could choose history or history of with your teacher's license.
Mm.
I chose history just to get out of there, which I wish I would have now because of what I'm going through now. But again, you can't go back and change things.
Sure.
So I didn't do that part. So I was like, man, what I need to do, what I need to do. And then people were just getting these raises that I've been there before. I'm putting all this work, and like they were giving these people raises that it was people they can control. And that's why they were giving the
Mm.
raises to. I had more education than anybody in the entire building, even the owner. And I was like, hold up. Like, and I could tell that she was giving raises to people that had nowhere to go to. So like making them stay.
Right.
So I was like,
That's
you know what?
interesting.
I was like, I'm out. Like, so I immediately got, it was crazy because I was a church youth pastor, not youth pastor, but youth leader at the time. And the youth pastor, his wife worked at the school that I work at now. And I just reached out one day at a youth program. I was like, hey, Crystal, um, if you got any openings at the school, I don't care what it is, if it's a kindergarten assistant, something like, just let me know because I want to at least get my foot in the door, and then that way I can
Yeah.
go from there. And literally, that was on a Sunday. That following Tuesday, she called me and was like, "Hey, there's a technology position open." And I knew the principal because I was remarried at this time, and the principal at that school actually was my stepdaughter's at that time third grade teacher. So I kind of knew her a little bit. And that's when I had the long hair, the bigger beard. So I looked like this big old hippie.
Right.
And I went in there and I sent her a message like, hey, because Crystal has mentioned to her that, hey, uh, Mr. Craig or William Craig's going to reach out. And she's like, oh, okay. So I reached out and I got an interview and I got the job. And that's where I've been for the past technically 7 years. I've been working at an elementary school as a technology teacher. I was in the process of getting my master's to get my license, but the way things working right now, like there's a lot of things that are happening now. Financially, I can't continue because
Yeah.
I don't even make them. I sold my house, so I had a large sum of money that was able to keep me going right now. But that money goes quick, in today's world. I spent more than half of it just on rent and bills.
Sure.
And I'm like, and so now that money's dwindling down, and like, I really can't, and I don't even make enough on my paycheck to pay my rent.
Right.
So now I'm in a situation because I was living good because I had money backing it up, but I was just basically had a big lump sum that I just watched get smaller in 4 years,
I
four
know
or
what you
5 years.
mean.
So now I'm like, oh gosh, and I can't really afford to continue to finish my master's because like I don't pay my bills. So like, and luckily I have my mom and my grandma that is always that's there to help me and stuff. But I don't want to rely on people. I
Yeah.
don't want to rely
Yeah.
on like that. So I mean, I know that they're willing to help, but that's why I'm in where I'm at right now. So that's kind of, and then and I started, I opened my sports car business back in was it June 26, 2023,
Okay.
when I finally took a leap and said, you know what, I'm gonna try to open my card shop. But I knew it was gonna be all e-commerce right now. And honestly, you probably would understand and probably agree, being all e-commerce is not that bad of a deal if you're able to push product and stuff because
Yeah.
you don't have to pay for bills, light
Yeah.
bills, like so
Overhead
it's
on
kind of
retail real estate is expensive.
yeah. So like I've been doing that for the past since 2023, and that's kind of leading up to where I am now in my current situation of where I am, and I have a son that's 10 years old now, and it's not just me
Yeah.
moving forward. So that's kind of long, short story form of where I am now.
That's
So
good.